Did Trump fall into the Iranian trap? And America entered the era of defeat at a time when the world was expecting an American military strike? The Iranian Revolutionary Guard came out with surprises that shattered all calculations. They said, "We will move the war to places you can't imagine, and the missiles will go beyond the region's borders." At the same time, we find that President Putin arrives in China and signs with President Xi a document to end American dominance. How did Iran save the Russian-Chinese alliance? What is the terrifying surprise that Abbas Araghchi has in store for the American soldiers based on previous lessons? And more importantly, did Congress really acknowledge the end of the F-35 fighter jet legend? All of these are new developments for us today, but after this break, stay with us. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings, and welcome to our renewed meeting today, God willing, in this episode of the Opinion series, which we always dedicate to following the latest developments and updates in this global conflict taking place in the Middle East between Iran and the Epstein Alliance. So, the beginning of our topic today, dear viewers, will start from these global developments. After we followed the visit made by American President Trump to China, and before that, there was also the visit of Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi to China. Today, it is also necessary to talk about Russian President Putin's visit to China, especially when we review the outcomes, statements, agreements, and so on that resulted from this visit. We actually find that there are developments and very important changes that concern Iran and the Gulf region, so it is necessary to address this. Russian President Putin arrived in the Chinese capital, Beijing, on a 2-day state visit. There was also a grand reception from China, almost in the same way that President Trump was received. Putin was first received at the airport by the Chinese foreign minister, and then he was welcomed by Chinese President Xi Jinping. So after that, the talks began, along with the signing of agreements and understandings and so on. One of the interesting things that happened during this second meeting today between Putin and the Chinese president was that Russian President Putin said to the Chinese president, whom he described as his dear friend, he told him that even though only one night or just one day had passed since their meeting, he felt as if 3 years had gone by. This is a Chinese expression that Putin quoted to express how much he was looking forward to meeting Xi Jinping again. Therefore, these words exactly reflect the depth and level of the relationship between China and Russia today. So, in reality, this visit was not ordinary at all, because aside from the protocols, the grand reception and so on, these things are perhaps normal. We've seen them even when Trump was received, and they could happen with any other country, even if it's a small country. But what was different about this visit is that there were indeed clear geopolitical messages sent by both China and Russia together to America and to all Western countries. The strategic rapprochement between Russia and China is deepening every day, becoming even stronger, and now it's taking a clear direction, which is to end the era of American dominance. The formation of a new multipolar world order, and this was the most important thing agreed upon during this visit. Russia and China signed a joint statement announcing the beginning of the formation of a new multipolar world order. Despite all the European and American efforts to attract China and distance it from Russia, in the end, China sent a message that it is a friend to everyone, and also sent a message that it cannot abandon this path that aims to form a new multipolar world order. Therefore, all of Trump's efforts went in vain. There is no revolution, neither on the Ukraine issue, nor regarding the Iran issue, nor regarding the issue of forming the New World Order. After long talks between Putin and the Chinese president, it was reported in various media outlets that they lasted for more than 3 hours. After these consultations, after this meeting, a joint statement was finally signed on strengthening the strategic partnership and cooperation agreement. And 40 documents were signed, 40 documents that define the areas of cooperation between the two countries together. A clear joint statement was issued with only one interpretation. China is with Russia, and Russia is with China, and there is no other way. So, in summary, this Chinese-Russian meeting was completely different from the Chinese-American meeting, which achieved nothing and was a complete failure. And this was acknowledged by all American media outlets. They all talked about it. Meanwhile, as I mentioned, when we look at the outcomes of Putin's visit to China, we actually see major successes, agreements, and a strengthening of this strategic partnership. We can say today that things are quickly moving toward forming a historic alliance as well. Let's not forget that. One of the most important outcomes of this meeting, which was also clear, concerns the conflict in the Middle East between Iran and the American-Israeli alliance. So both of them mean Russia and China. They warned America against returning to war again, and they issued a clear condemnation of this attack that Iran was subjected to by America and Israel. What did President Xi Jinping say? He said the war must end immediately, and he said that China will never accept the return of war again. What does this mean? This warning was very stern, as if China might reconsider its plans, maybe even provide more support to Iran if the war returns again in a bigger way, and so on. So there are things happening that show a real and significant closeness between this trilateral alliance, Iran, Russia, and China. This completely reflects what we've been saying recently, and that Iran has truly changed the equation entirely. If it weren't for this war against Iran, and if it weren't for Iran's steadfastness, the great resilience we've witnessed throughout this war, we probably wouldn't be seeing these developments and this significant closeness between Russia, China, and Iran today. Because if America had won this war and succeeded in toppling the Iranian regime, we would have seen different scenarios then, and maybe we would have seen China making concessions to Trump, distancing itself from Russia, and so on. So, in fact, Iran is the one that saved this Russian-Chinese rapprochement today. It is actually contributing to the formation of a new multipolar world order. This war that Trump waged gave Iran the opportunity to rise or emerge strategically as a major regional power. And this also came today, meaning in a new speech by the Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, he officially announced that Iran has truly become a major regional power. So today, dear viewers, when we talk about this conflict between Iran and the Epstein coalition, we always find that there are developments, meaning every day there are new developments. Today, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard issued a new warning. Pay close attention. Throughout this past week, Iran has been issuing a new warning every single day. They said they would wipe some countries off the map if war breaks out again, of course. They said they have weapons and new military tactics, and they said they have a new weapon that will surprise America. They also said that America should completely forget about its military bases in the region then. I mean, every day there were warnings, and we've talked about a number of other warnings in previous episodes. Today, there's a new warning. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard issued a statement saying that if the war breaks out again, we will take the war to places you can't imagine. He said that the war would then go beyond the borders of this region completely, and that missiles might destroy other areas outside the region or anything else. So no one can really predict exactly how the war will be moved to other areas outside the Gulf region. What does he mean by that? Does this mean that Iran will then strike the American military bases spread across Europe? Or what? Does he mean closing the Bab al-Mandab Strait? Does he mean striking Egypt, the Suez Canal? For example, does he mean Egypt, which sent troops to the UAE? There are many questions being raised. The Revolutionary Guard did not specify exactly what they meant. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said today that Iran is hiding big surprises for American soldiers in case of a return to war. He said these surprises will be based on the lessons Iran learned in the previous 40-day war. So the new thing today is that we now have, many factors that could prevent Trump from returning to war again. It's no longer just about avoiding the depletion of more weapons. Today, we have strong and decisive threats from Iran. Today, we also have rejection, maybe from most Gulf countries. We also have open rejection from China as well. Therefore, the question remains, will Trump overcome all of this and return to war again? There is still a lot of uncertainty about what is coming. Will Trump dare to return to war again? So despite all these threats and warnings, will Trump fall into this trap again to serve Netanyahu's orders? There are statements from foreign officials. What did they say? They said that their countries never asked Trump not to return to war or to postpone this military strike, and they said they had no knowledge at all of any imminent military action. Even if they wanted to ask Trump, this confirms what we talked about. It means that Trump really is unable to return to war again. Today, he is just looking for excuses and reasons that allow him to justify not returning to war again. Even though the Iranians reject this American proposal and so on, he still finds justification not to return to war. Trump every time extends the truce period for different reasons. For example, when he came out and said that he postponed the military strike, he set the date and said the postponement would be for 2 or 3 days. He said maybe we'll strike on Friday, maybe Tuesday, maybe Saturday or Sunday, or maybe next week. That's what happened, but we'll see if he actually sticks to all these dates. Araghchi, Iran's foreign minister, posted a tweet on X about an American report released today talking about America's losses in this war. After only 40 days, it was exactly 42 planes. 42 planes. We're talking about fighter jets, refueling planes, AWACS, early warning planes, and so on. Planes that either crashed like the F-35, F-15 and others, or were hit by missiles while at military airports in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and so on. 42 planes were said to be worth more than $2.5 billion. That's just the planes. We're only talking about the planes. So Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi wrote in a post on X, he wrote that after months since the start of this war, finally Congress is acknowledging these losses. And he said that Iran has made history by becoming the first country in the world to successfully shoot down an F-35, which is considered the pride of American military industry. So the dangerous thing today, and we've talked about this repeatedly, the dangerous thing is that America has suffered all these losses, and in the end, it hasn't achieved even a single one of its declared objectives. And in the end, Iran still has this stockpile of highly enriched uranium, the Iranian nuclear program is still running, their missile capability remains intact, and the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. So this is what's dangerous for Trump. He caused a major depletion of weapons and ammunition that the American military had, and in the end, he hasn't achieved any goal or any accomplishment at all. It is said in some American media outlets like CNN, for example, that the US Air Force is ready for the military operation and that it has made the plans, identified the targets and set the coordinates for these targets and so on. But in reality, what comes next? Even if this is true, what comes next? When did this war start? Indeed, everything was also ready for America, but in the end, what happened? There was no result. So the problem is, will this achieve any specific results, or will it just be another drain on American military capabilities? Anyone who knows America and knows Trump well will understand that when they are in a position of strength, they don't wait for anyone, they don't delay strikes, they don't give chances to diplomacy and so on. For such a long time, when America is strong, it makes demands, threatens, and then denies making the threat. This was even the case with Iran. They would strike Iran even while still sitting at the negotiating table. Why? Because they had power. Today what's happening is that America is actually experiencing weakness in this matter. It's completely unable to do anything and doesn't have any leverage. I mean, any escalatory step could lead to disastrous results for Trump, for America, and for the whole region. That's why, in reality, Trump is in a real predicament. That's all we have for today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Peace and God's mercy and blessings be upon you, and see you next time.